seminars were billed as sticking hand and, what is it? Chi Sau and sticking, and what sticking means in regards to application. But really what I want to look at is still Chi Sau, is how can you take the principles you're learning in Chi Sau when you're rolling and discover whether you've understood the essence of Chi Sau in the simple techniques that you do. Things like parry and punch, things like counter backhand, etc., etc. Can you see what I'm talking about? Because essentially, Chi Sau is nothing more than a vehicle to allow the force the body's generating to keep moving towards the intended target in a dynamic, changing environment. Does that make sense to people? Am I being too sort of weird with my language? In other words, if I want to throw a dart at Milan, I've got a point of focus, but somehow that dart has got to stay focused on where it wants to land, no matter how hard he tries to get away from it. All right? Does that make sense to people? All right. In the first group of talks, I suppose in the first talk we looked at structure, how important structure was. In the second one, we skirted around the idea of movement and what that may or may not mean. In this third one, I want to take those two elements and see how Chi Sau allows you to, I suppose, deliver what movement and Silam Tao are trying to produce, which is force at the target. So can I have someone, I'll borrow you, sir, because you're used to pain. All right. If we look at things slowly, can you see okay? Or do you want to move over somewhere where you can see? I'm just hyper-conscious about people not seeing. It's not enough to have any technique, because in a dynamic situation, he's going to be applying force against me that's trying to counteract what I'm trying to do, which is obvious. We all intuitively know that. So what Chi Sau tries to teach me is that when I make contact and he attempts to take that force off, I structurally rotate a joint without losing my integrity so that I can still stay where I want to go, no matter how he's trying to take it off. No matter how he's trying to take it off. Okay? That's really, in essence, what Chi Sau is trying to do. A lot of people think Chi Sau is about trapping hands. But, and this is only my humble opinion, I think if you think Chi Sau is about trapping hands, it means your Wing Chun is not very good. It means you don't have the necessary focus, you don't have the necessary force to just go bang straight into somebody. And use the Chi Sau feeling sensitivity to redirect the incoming force just enough for you to continue to go through. Because that's what Chi Sau is trying to do. Have all of us done Chi Sau here? Who has not done any sticking hand? Okay. When you're rolling in sticking hand, when you're doing it, what you're attempting to do, so we'll just start so you've got some idea. Maybe even very quickly. You learn Silam Tao first, and you learn free hand movement. So there's no pressure on that hand. And as I mentioned yesterday, basically Chi Sau, single sticking hands, then puts me in a situation where I've got external pressure on my body. But I'm not moving yet. So I'm testing how well am I doing Silam Tao. Because this person's trying to disrupt my Tan Sau, which I've learnt to do in Silam Tao. You know, etc., etc. And then you learn Chum Kyu, and then you learn to start doing, you then do double sticking hand, where you're taking both hands and rolling, but you're not moving, okay? Again, so now not only are you concerned about your structure, but now you look at your two independent parts of your body trying to move and still maintain your structure. Then we look at moving. So now you've got to try and do these sort of things and move. Back and forth. Hip back. So I'm maintaining my structure. whilst rolling. So when he attempts to cut into me in some sort of fashion, I'm able to absorb most of that blow, or all of it, but not the wrong way. I don't absorb it by being hit. You understand what I'm saying? But that movement in and of itself, what is it actually teaching me? What do you think? Why do you think we roll in a sphere?
There's a ball, you have it just, can go any direction.
Yeah.
Any force can go any way.
Yeah.
And
more importantly, any
he can just absorb, redirect.
But I know what you're saying, but what essentially the rolling movement's describing is every possible contact point that you are likely to meet at the initial point contact in an attack. So that an attack might come here, so I've got to be able to deal with it there. Okay? An attack might come in here, so I've got to be able to deal with it there. You see what I'm saying? So Chi Sau teaches you to point the whole time through rotation, so that you're always pointing at the target no matter where you are along this sphere. This makes sense. So you practice this for a long time. And my Chi Sau's okay, but against Sifu Jim, he just wears me out within about 3 minutes. 3 minutes and I can't, I've got to walk away. He just makes me carry him. No matter how much I try to take the force off, I cannot do it yet. Okay? Against other people, I'm okay. Against him, no way. All right? So understand that there's an enormous difference between me and Sifu Jim. Enormous. He's just a very modest man. What I'm concerned about for you is that I made an earlier statement that your Silam Tao essentially, not here but in another talk, your Silam Tao should effectively reflect how your arm feels when you're doing a technique. So when you're doing something like Chi Sau against a straight punch, most of us do Chi Sau like this. So you have a certain feeling when you're doing it. So when you're doing this, you want to have the same feeling here. You don't want to have this change because you don't do it like that in the form. So you want to try and develop the same sense of feeling in the form. So what Chi Sau's trying to get me to do is when I make contact in the technique, can I have that sense of feeling that I can rotate and adjust my shoulder to take the incoming force off me and make that subtle change immediately. All right? Not deliberately by clashing into him because there's still tension there. So using the concept of Silam Tao, the concept of pointing, focusing, and the mechanism or the engine and the skill that you develop through through Chi Sau to be able to take people off. Does this make sense to people? The thing I find people don't do, go on this side, sorry, Tom. The thing that people don't do is they either break contact or they don't know how to maintain contact. Why do I say that? Why do you think I say that? Why is that so important?
Because you have to just, during a contact, you are just applying your force to the other, through that contact. If you lose the point of contact, you're losing a connection between them.
Yeah, okay. Do people understand that? When Seb touches my hand, he actually talks to me like a telephone line about what his body's doing, what his force is doing. So when he comes into me, I can feel him as soon as I touch him, and I know which way to take him. All right? So what happens is when you do your technique, there's a tendency for all of us to focus on moving our hands quickly so that we do this. But the problem there was he lifted up his hand, which I had no control over. So that actually acts as a block. It actually acts as a, well, disincentive for being able to successfully complete this movement. What needs to happen is I stick to him, because now he can't do the movement. All right? So what I'm trying to get you to do is think about the idea of what you try to do in Silam Tao, what you try to do in sticky hand, and that same thinking that you have when you're rolling slowly is the same mindset that you have when doing this. Is this making sense? Because if you can't apply it, what's the point of practicing? And I'm not saying going out there and fight somebody. I'm just saying if someone's hitting you. All right? Now, can I have some volunteers to try this? Just to try. And I just want to see a couple of things. So you can all try. We'll get you doing a couple of things actually as a group. But I just want to see if you're aware of one or two things. Come on. So what I want you to do, thanks, Seth. What I want you to do is I just want you to do the parry and punch on me. Okay? Your parry and punch. Okay, do it again. Do it again. Again. Right. Go on this side, take it. Alright, see how hard that, I'm not in any way, but what it demonstrates is that the techniques are not separate from, I know you know intellectually, but you don't believe it. The techniques are not separate from what you learn in Silam Tao and the forms and what you learn in Chi Sau. They are not different. Because what's happening is you're using a movement, because Silam Tao teaches you to focus forward in a stationary way, but Chi Sau teaches you to take that mass and move it into somebody as your hands move it at the target. So if I'm just aiming at Milan's arm, I'm not doing Silam Tao concept. I'm not pointing forward, number one. I have no capacity to control him, number two, and I have no real focus at him. Whereas Chi Sau and Silam Tao teach you to focus forward. Yeah? But if I do this, see how your body drops, okay? What's happening? I'm sticking to you. Right? Because what might happen is that hand might come in and I'll feel this one. So this is happening here. I'm breaking your structure. If this hand makes contact first, but it's too strong for me, this is a Chi Sau moment. Am I talking too fast? Are people making the connection with what I'm saying? If my hand, when you do parry and punch as a simple example, you're told, although I very rarely see it done properly anywhere. Maybe I'll get a couple of people besides Milan to come up and do parry and punch on me. Or maybe on Milan so I can watch. Alright, okay Murray, so what I want you to do, we'll do it from this side first so that the camera picks it up. I want you to do your parry and punch with your punching hand behind you. There, okay? So
punch with this one?
Yep.
Yep.
Again. Alright, again. Now, change hands. So your punching hand is your lead hand. Off you go. Yep. Yep. Okay? Not commenting, can I have someone else? I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Yep, sure.
Someone else, just someone else.
My gosh.
Okay. Lead hand is your parrying hand. Yep. Yep. Now, punching hand is your lead hand. Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay? These guys are not doing too bad. Alright? What most people do is if this is the punching hand, they wait till this one makes contact before this one starts to move. No. You die if you do this one.
So the punching hand contact's too early?
Has to.
Yeah, no, but what you're saying, the wrong is that the parry hand parries too early?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what most people do is this. Milan's got his hand here, sorry. Milan's got his hand here, and I'm going to do parry and punch, and I do this and then start doing this. This is wrong. But from a Chi Sau perspective, what happens, don't put it, I might hit you. That makes contact, but it's too much force. Now the only way I can tell it's too much force is because I can't get my hand through. Okay? That's a Chi Sau moment. So what I do is I stay focused on you, and I create, without diverting my focus at here, the opportunity to keep going forward. But what most people do is they punch and then their focus is on the parry and this goes nowhere. Or nowhere effectively. Does that make sense to people? I see people who do it. You may think you don't do it. I see people do it. So what I want you to try and do is I want you to be aware, and I'll give you an example of why Chi Sau is so important in this particular instance. Your hand might be coming at me and I'm going to counter punch you. Right? I'm going to counter punch you. But what happens is that I counter punch you, I go to counter, but your hand is too low. And you've got longer reach than I have. So what happens from a Chi Sau perspective is I'm aware that I haven't made contact, but I'm still open. Here. So this becomes the point of control. Again, this is focusing at him to control him. Can you see? Maybe it may not be intuitively obvious to a lot of you, right? But if this is coming in on me, coming in at me, I'm here like this because I haven't made contact. But this is the point I want to make. Can I get some of you to do a parry and punch in this fashion? Can I get some of you to do it? Anyone? I just realised why I want to make this point. Why it's a Chi Sau moment. Can I have anyone? Okay. So I want you to do, so I still want you to parry, but you'll find that the punch is coming in low. So you're effectively going to have to parry it to the side. And then I want you to do whatever you want to do. That's okay. That's okay. Don't make it too hard for you. Yeah, do it again. Now, what would you do after that? What would be your natural reaction? So just show me like something. Okay, that's okay. Now someone else. How are you? Okay? Good to see you. Okay, Reggie? Right. And I want you to do is I want you to follow up. Yeah, here you go. Do it again. Yep. So what are you doing? You're all doing the right thing, which is good to see. But probably most of you are like, the ones that have come up are more senior. This is what most people do. Now, go punch. And they pull their hand away. And bring their hand back to their seat. The problem is that only works if I stay in contact here. If your hand was low, and I parried you, I'm still open. Don't count on this hitting people, even though that's what you're trying to do. What I'm saying is you use Chi Sau. Here, this is the Chi Sau. This is the contact point that tells me I've got a point of control. Is this making sense to you? Because now if your hands, say your hands move into me in some sort of fashion, and I want to do this to you, and now you want to move. If I break contact, I've lost control of his body. I've lost control of my ability to control you, yeah. I know it sounds like I've just said a red card is red because it's red, all right? But the point is when that's coming in, I contact you and I stick to you. I stick to you still. Because if I do this and there's no control, your body is still able to move. Your body is still able to attack me. This is not good. This is not good at all. Alright? Let's wrap that on. In Chi Sau, what you are endeavouring to do is always, like if someone's coming wide, you don't try and touch, so you know, contact point, you hit straight down the middle, okay? I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about hands coming in and you touch. And then at some point you need a control. So I'm using this control point here to keep his body from moving. Okay? So if Tom's coming in some sort of way and he tries to change direction on me in some sort of way, I don't care. Do whatever you want. Yeah. I'm always touching so that I can control his body. Because Chi Sau is about giving you a bridge. Alright? You can't transfer your body mass into me without touching me. That doesn't mean the touch can be here, but you still got to touch it. Okay? And I'm just saying here, or here, in some sort of fashion. You've got a contact. So if I want to transfer my mass, or at least use it to allow me to get into a better position, I've got to use Chi Sau, my focus that my Chi Sau has taught me, to stay aimed at the target. That's why when you start rolling in Chi Sau at a more senior level, you actually start to move. The reason you move should be obvious, because it's trying to give you a feel for what it's like to stay in contact in a more fluid, dynamic
Realistic
environment.
sense.
Any question at this point? Is this sort of like making a better sense? All right. So when I'm rolling with somebody, it's not about me worrying about this. I am, but it's not like I've got to be. I'm actually trying to stay focused at this person whilst I'm doing it, but aware of how I'm shifting and how they're shifting. So if all of a sudden he moves that way, but I'm not focused at him, I'm not doing Chi Sau, I'm not doing sticking hand. Can I feel some of your sticking hand? Not too heavy on me, because I'm just an old man. I just want to feel, right? So just roll, and don't be scared, I'm not going to hit you, but actually stay in contact with me if you can. Right? What I want you to do is tell me what you feel.
A lot of shifting force or something.
Yeah, right? But what you find is it's hard for you to actually stay in contact with me. Now what I'll do is I'll give you something to stick to roll on to. I'm going to tense up a little bit. Okay, feel different?
Now it's easy.
Yeah, now it's easy. Now he's got a point of contact. Okay, so all right, so make sure you've got a point of contact. So when someone's putting a lot of force on you and you feel tense, you're giving them something to successfully aim onto. Yeah? I mean, we all know that because we feel it. Oh shit, I'm getting tired. This is too much work. But when rolling, if I give you nothing,
Yeah. I'm just fighting his arms now.
and what happens, I'm free to move and he can't tell that I can move. All right, does someone else want to do it? Okay. So when you're rolling, if you're sloppy, people just hit you. Yeah? And if you overextend and tense up, people just pull you and throw you away. So it's a balance. It's a balance, okay? Okay. All right, I'll tense up a little bit. Can you feel me now? Can you feel where I am? So if I move, you can tell I'm moving, can't you? Not because you can hear my voice, but you can feel it in your arms. But if I relax,
Can I just ask, which part are you actually tensing when you said tense up?
just my torso.
Okay.
Just so because that's where he's aiming. If I tense up my ankles, it's not like you feel my
Yeah.
ankles. Yeah. Yeah. But if I relax, close your eyes. He thought I went that way, but I went that way. So if you can stay relaxed, it's very difficult for people to tell how your body mass is shifting. All right? Somebody else? Now you need to let go. You need to relax your upper body and relax your wrist. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to use that contact point to throw. See, I'm sticking to you. I'm using the sticking to transfer my weight to you, which is what sticking hands does. Okay? Sticking hands is not about trapping your hands. Sticking hands is about a big delivery truck getting to the right place, irrespective of how many detours this guy tries to put in the way. So when that hand comes into me, I may want to hit you. All right? You felt your whole body change direction as I hit you. But why it's so important is because sticking hand gives you a sense of sensitivity in your arm. But it's really not just in your arm, it's in your body. So what's happening is you're starting to become aware of the direction of force and how it's being applied against you. So you might be applying force against me and I feel tension. So how do I take that tension off? I just relax. Okay? But in being able to successfully relax, I then am back on the right route to delivering the payload. But if I tense up, I've hit a roadblock. I can't get my load there, bang. Is this making sense to people? I mean, you all sort of know it, but you tend to think that sticking hands is about teaching you quick reflexes. It is. but for what? It's about creating sensitivity. It is, but for what? It's about teaching you to feel incoming force. To what end? So you've got to understand that even though all those things are a side benefit, what are they really trying to deliver? And what is the purpose of them? Does that make sense to people? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when your hands are coming into me and I do that, all right? Now, what you noticed is that my fist landed on your face, even though you started there and your body moved there. Because Chi Sau teaches me to take my body pointing and keep it focused at where it's meant to be pointing. And as he moves and my center moves, so my hand tracks what I'm following, which is something I talked about before. Okay. So even though this looks nice, you don't fight this way. I know you all know that. But sometimes it's hard to appreciate really how is sticking hands applied in attack or in defense. And it's applied 1/100th to 1/2000th of a second. I'm exaggerating. It's probably a little bit slower than 1/2000th, but it's probably not much different from 1/100th of a second. And the Chi Sau happens here. When you're rolling normally in Chi Sau, if there's tension, you take the pressure off by adjusting your shoulder. Okay? And you learn to do that through a whole circular movement. But in a fighting situation, force is applied at me at some sort of tangent, and if there's tension, I've got to immediately alleviate it and continue. That's Chi Sau. Okay? If force is coming up, one of the classics, you see a hand coming up and then people just, boom, straight underneath. Now if my hand is tense, don't hit me in the head. But if my hand is tense, you can drop your hand straight up, can't you? No problem at all. Even if I think your hand is coming, I can't feel the change in direction. So Chi Sau is teaching you to feel that change in direction. Take it off you whilst you still keep going where you want to go, which I've said several times already, but I want you to believe me. All right? So when that hand comes in, you come in. Okay? All right. As hard as you want, go for it. No? No. If he's too strong for me, I just shift. Okay? So if he's coming in here, no. So what happens is he's coming under, and when he comes under, I go this way. Yeah. All right? Caught me while I was talking, that's why I shouted. All right? But all I'm saying is it's a lot harder for you to deal with me. So when your hand is coming into me, you just point at you. Okay? You don't concentrate to make mistakes. All right? The beauty of this is that Chi Sau teaches you also to point your body towards a specific target and relax and drop your weight towards it. So if that's coming in, and that's a hand, I can still drop it on you. Still drop on you. Still Chi Sau, but not as you understand it yet. Because it's a Chi Sau principle. Incoming force, Chi Sau teaches me to take that force off me. Incoming force, doesn't matter what angle it comes in, take it off me. Yeah? Coming up, take it off me. Doesn't matter. I just want you to see that Chi Sau's training you to make the right, well, I don't want to put it this way, but the right decision straight away. Because if your hand is coming in and I do that, bang, you're going to hit me. Particularly if you're stronger. You want to actually practice something? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. That way I'll get a chance to sit down for a couple of seconds. What I want you to practice is when someone's coming in at you, I want you, when you do your Chi Sau, to not just let your hand roll up, but to stay focused at the person and see if you can just stay looking at the person and just let your shoulder rotate, but let your elbow still point at the person. So when that comes in, that one. So don't do it fast. That one. Okay? Want to give it a shot?
Does it have to be much of a movement
No.
that way?
No. Just grab somebody, guys. This okay?
Yeah.
Okay. There's this sucking up of the anus, so to speak, or sucking into the
Tony,
anus. Yeah.
sorry, excuse me, excuse my ignorance.
That's okay.
Taigong?
Taigong, what is it?
What is it?
Okay, yeah. Taigong is the ability to pull up inside, okay, so that the bottom part of your body is attached to the top part of your body. Okay? In fact, what does it actually translate to? It's got quite a really, I won't say crude, but very, very, you know.
Internal contraction.
Yeah, we call it internal contraction, but Taigong actually in Chinese means, no one, anyone know? I think Albert actually even means, sort of means like actually sucking up the ass.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it imagine?
It does, doesn't it?
What does it mean?
It's like holding
They
a
got back to
carrot.
me last year.
Yeah.
Imagine you want to go through the shit.
Yeah. And you're holding it.
Holding it. Oh shit, gotta get it.
Yeah.
And then that's another way. But in insurance, just stand up.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it. But you don't tense up your leg muscle.
No, you don't.
No. You're not sucking up your ass cheek. You're actually taking, it's an internal, when you got to go to the loo and you're something, I've got to go, you don't go like that. You just pull up inside to prevent yourself from opening your bowel. Essentially, that's what Taigong is.
Yeah.
Okay? When you get better, you need less mental effort to have that sensation of pulling up. Okay? But it still has to be there. Still has to be there.
So in beginning it's more physical and later on it's more mental.
In the beginning, you're much more aware of it because most of us don't walk around with inside pulled up. So you become much more aware of it.
So you've focused on this a lot, but so later on you can just think of the feeling that you get during Chi Sau and Silam Tao and just bang, it's
By
unified.
pulling up your spine, you tend to automatically internally Taigong anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now you need that. You need to pull up your back. You need to relax. To successfully transfer any load to the front of my hand, which is what Chi Sau's trying to do, say. When you're doing Silam Tao, you're trying to transfer, I use that word loosely, transfer your body weight to here. Can I have somebody just, anyone? Type example of shifting your weight, okay? Put one hand here, can you see okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. In opening up my arm, one of the things that Chi Sau teaches you to do is recognize the tension in your joints that people that a person is applying to you and alleviate that tension before you move. Otherwise, if it's tense, you can't move. Logic says that. So what happens is to make my job easier, I relax that point, you feel it changing, and then I relax here. Now, do you feel all the weight dropping to here?
Don't feel anything, something in my stomach.
Yeah, but the reason you're feeling it in your stomach is because I've shifted the weight and now you're forced to carry it in a way you didn't suspect to carry it. All right? If I just hold my hand up, you don't feel anything. If I try to open up my hand, I can't.
Feel like you're intense.
Yeah, I am. I'm just showing you. Okay. Yeah. But basically, if I just relax here and let now the weight drop to there, you shifted all of a sudden, I can now shift you. Does someone want to feel that? Because I think you need to understand that this is an example of Chi Sau. How Chi Sau gets you to feel what your body is doing, how to take external force applied to you, and then still go where you want to go. Right? So if I'm here and I try to open up this part of the form, okay? I can't. I can, but it's hard. I'm straining. I'm doing it wrong. All right? So to alleviate it, I relax my shoulder, but then I actually relax my wrist into my elbow. Feel the weight change? Now I can open you up.
I thought I don't understand because there's no tension in your body probably at all.
No, there is tension in my body, but
Like-
maybe just not as much as most people here. Okay, the reason why it works is, I'm not an engineer, but if you've got a pillar with a beam on it, and the pillar supports the beam can carry a lot of weight on it. But if you had very loose screws on that beam, so that actually the pillar doesn't support it at all, then the beam itself does all the work and it tends to break and bend. It can't support any weight on it. All right? So, what's happening with the situation? No, I did borrow Tom so I can answer your question. What's happening with the situation here is that Your Silam Tao is teaching you to feel your structure. Chi Sau is teaching you that the only way you can move successfully is to make sure your structure is in the correct place before you start to move. Number one. But also it teaches you this concept of putting your weight somewhere. All right? So even though I'm relaxed, it's much harder for me to shift you. Even though he moved. And now I'm going to change it. All right? I'm going to go from there, I'm just going to relax into there. Much easier. Yeah.
Did the same as talking like this space inside your body looking at him?
Yeah, I won't go there yet.
Tony, when you do things that you do, it happens very quickly.
Yeah. That's
so-
Chi Sau.
That's Chi Sau. So there isn't this time of like tension, relaxation, move.
Of course not. But when you're first learning a language, you go Shin Ki Tao. It's not natural. I'm Maltese, okay? Shin Ki Tao. What are you doing? All right? Shin Ki. I'm trying to think. I've got to remember that word. I can't even make the sound. I can't even make the sound. Okay? Learning English, for example. If you've never learned English before, English is a crap language to learn. It's very hard. It's full of ambiguities, everything. But none of us sit there and think hard about the English that we're used to speaking. And we speak it very fluently. Immediately the idea comes out in words because we've practiced it. So, the things that I do that seem reasonably quick are a result of focus, but a result of having a sensitivity in the arm. So when Instructor Tom attacks my arm, I can feel the feeling, the movement in his limb, and adjust straight away, but keep going where I want to go. Okay? So that's Chi Sau. So what's happening is, in here, we have a rolling motion. We have a rolling motion. There's force still applied against that rolling motion. So when he's applying force against that rolling motion, a possible option is that I do it wrong, and it doesn't work. It crushes me. All right? Because my focus isn't right, there's tension in the joint, so I haven't actually learned to turn this arm and dissipate the force but still be pointing at you. Can you see why understanding this movement is important? You know, a lot of people will say if someone's got force, all you do is drop your arm down.
Sure.
No, it's not you just drop your arm down. There's a whole lot of things as to how you drop your arm down. What you're thinking, what you're pointing, what's happening in the shoulder joint, what's happening in the mind, what's happening in the structure. It's not just simply, oh yeah, because if that was true, we'd all be printing books with photographs of me dropping my arm down, or at least someone prettier, dropping their arm down and making millions. And everyone would be doing Reaching. No way. It's a case of learning to feel that as I drop my arm down, suddenly there's force there, there's tension. So how do I get rid of that? Because if I don't get rid of that, it's going to get so much harder to turn my arm. I'm not going to be able to achieve my objective of hitting this person. Is this making sense, Brett? Okay. So classic example. All right? One of the things you guys all train to do. You make contact. You make contact and you cut down. Okay? So let's not even look at it from a chum Q perspective of turning. Let's look at just cutting down. I'm going to get you to practice it. The most common thing that people do when they cut down is they fight the point of contact, which then locks the shoulder up. So Chi Sau teaches me to just rest, to relax my shoulder joint, and to move my shoulder joint. So I can successfully do this to Tom, rather than this to Tom. Very hard for me to push on that point, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So what I want you to try and do is grab somebody now and be honest with yourself. I want you to try and move your arm and try to rotate the arm from the joint and feel how tension's there and tension isn't there, tension's there, tension isn't there, and see if you can release that tension through the full rotation. Because that's one part of Chi Sau. Once you feel you can do that, I want you then to think about the person and where you want that arm to go and rotate it. It's not as easy as it looks. So one is just I'm rotating, I'm not thinking about Tom. The other is I am rotating, doing the same thing, but now it's got a direction. It wants to hit.
Think of the arm where it wants to go. Think of where the person wants, where you want the person to go.
No, where my arm wants to go.
Okay.
Because when I'm punching Tom, I'm not thinking about where Tom wants to go, I'm thinking about where my fist wants to go. Well, I wouldn't punch Tom. Grab somebody. Got to know, again, this is just my experience too, right? If I'm going to push everything towards Tom, even if it wasn't muscle, even if it was actually just a pointing of my body, I'm actually using too much excessive force and wasting energy. Even though it's not energy in the form of tensing muscle, it's inefficient. And they're Siegel's own words as well, so I'm not making it up. And Seafood Jim will tell you the same thing. You focus forward, but you don't have to be like forward. You just have to have that focus forward. That allows you to then, when you come in contact with somebody, to be able to take up any slack and then slam through when you need to. So you're not like, yeah, how can I put this? If you could measure the focus forward in kilograms, okay? If my maximum load forward was 90 kilograms, I don't have 90 kilograms on. I don't, that's a waste of energy because it's doing nothing. It's working against nothing. It needs to be 20, maybe 15, maybe 10. But something pointing forward, okay? So that what happens is that you give people just enough so that they meet. Even if they're coming in hard, there's something so your hand doesn't go slam. Yeah? So when his hand comes into me hard, there's something there. So you don't want to use too much. You use your body force, but you have to use your body force efficiently as well. See, we tend to mistake the use of body force with the term muscular force or tension. They're not the same thing. Are you okay? Same thing. Give her a glass of water. Not the same thing. Okay? Have any of you, like Seafood Jim, just applies enough force against you to ensure you can't hit him? It's not always 100% freight every time. When he's rolling, when he's applying any technique, it's always you use just enough of your body force to counter the incoming force. Alright? So, example, if I'm going to use Chi Sau to roll this arm forward, I can roll it forward this way with no effort. Well, I mean no muscular tension, but it's excessive force. It's pointless. Alright? All I need is that much. So when he's applying force against me, when he's applying force against me, I just use enough to get him off. It doesn't mean I'm lazy. I mean like, oh yeah, he's Fred hit me. That's not what I mean. I mean that when he comes in hard, I just use enough to make sure I don't get hit. I don't have to be aggressive in the sense that all my body force is going there a million miles an hour. Unless I choose to hit him. And even then you don't do that. You use discretion. I'm not going to kill him. I just want to make him think properly. So, example, all right? Can I have some people here just to roll Instructor Tom's hand off, right? Just a couple of you. Did you go first? Just sit down. Okay. What I want you to do, Michiko, is actually take Tom's hand off you. Just roll it off you. Just aim so that she rolls towards me instead. Yeah, towards me. So tell me when you got his hand off. What would you do to take his hand off? So take his hand off. All right. Okay. All right. So now do it again. Let's say you have to do it to hit him. Yeah. Yeah, no, just with that. Yeah. You want to create an opening for yourself. Okay. Again. Okay. Can I feel your arm? You'll see the point of this in a minute. Okay? Let's go. Yeah, I'm not going to put too much, but enough for you to do something with it. Okay. All right. Now you actually don't need any more. Okay? And yet she wants to take me this way. So
It's very subtle.
yeah, very, very subtle. I'll get Instructor Tom to talk about when he feels he's suddenly vulnerable. Okay? So when this is in here and he's pushing into me, here, just here. All right? Vulnerable there. Not there. That's too late. There. So what happens, Chi Sau teaches you that when you do your techniques, you don't overreact. You don't overemphasize the movement in the technique. Don't overemphasize the movement in the technique. You okay, Sean? All right? So this is the example, all right? Maybe for you to think about. Counter backhand. This movement here. Or this movement here. Right? Most of us overexert because we're so scared that we're going to get hit. You have a right to be scared to get hit, but you still need to respond correctly to the incoming force. So what Chi Sau teaches me to do is to focus forward and touch so that I've got my body support there. And my Chi Sau teaches me, do I need to keep pointing forward to counter this force coming in? Or can I stop it there? Now here's the other aspect of Chi Sau. Can I have a volunteer who's pretty proficient at counter backhand? No, I'm not going to criticise you, or maybe I am. Who's efficient at counter backhand? Who here? It's their favourite technique.
Give it a go.
All right, it's their favourite technique. It's obviously
I'm not too
Murray's.
good at the.
It's all right. I don't care. I don't care. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Now do it like your life depends on it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But what about the follow-up? Okay. Do it again without killing Tom. Here we go. Now. Right.
Kill him.
Now, would it actually happen at that speed in real life? Would
No.
you wait this long to do the follow-up?
Oh, right, okay.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. You did exactly what I was hoping you'd do. Do it again. So I bet you no one here. I bet you no one here picked it up.
I didn't stick.
Off you go. What do you mean by stick? What do you mean by stick?
I didn't keep on it. Didn't keep focusing.
No,
No.
maybe not. I don't know. Tom will tell you. Do it again. Yeah, do it again. Let's do it normally. Let's go.
Oh, no, it's alright.
Yeah, that was the shit word, just in case you didn't pick it up. All right. All right. What most people do is this. They're so eager to do the cut down that they go
Over.
Yeah, they go doom, and they break contact while that can still hit.
They can just keeping there, just it's very punch.
All right. So Chi Sau teaches me to maintain that contact point in my technique. Sorry, so I just can't see. So this is what happens. When Tom's hand comes in here, I maintain that stick. All right?
Yeah.
Or, if I break the stick, there's no way, even if that swings round, that he's going to get past this point here. Okay? So Chi Sau's teaching me to feel. Chi Sau also teaches me when it's appropriate to actually do that technique the way you're doing it. Because if that's the only thing you think, if you've got a technique-related response in your head and you're not thinking about what it feels like and how this person's responding to your technique, then how do you know that you're going to be able to do this? How do you even know that doing this is appropriate? That's Chi Sau. Chi Sau tells you this. Example, if we do this technique, I'm not criticizing the technique, understand what I am saying. It's expressing a principle, it's expressing an idea. If I'm here, we do this technique so that people attack us and we're behind them, specifically behind them. Sorry, we're specifically behind them. So it's actually quite easy to use the palm. But most people get back-fisted with their hands here. So how do you get a palm on somebody? That's number one. I'm not criticizing the technique. All I'm saying is that I may not be able to do the palm. I may do this and find that it's too hard to do this and then do this because this guy's going to hit me anyway. So Chi Sau gives me that sense of a person crowding me, a person closing me up. Okay? So I go, boom. And then what I realise is I can't do this without locking myself up. Okay? So instead, I use Chi Sau, I do a parry and I punch him to the head instead. Because I've got that contact point that tells me he's too damn close. So I'm going to stick to that point and hit him. So be aware of this when you're doing this technique. Be aware of this because one of the other things is it may be impossible for me to use this hand against this one. You know, if I see this kind of backhand, I don't rush to this side. Because by the time I rush to this side, if he's good at, some karate styles claim that the back fist is the fastest hand in their system. So they can do it bloody quick. Alright? So, I use my nearest hand. Okay? But I do it in such a fashion, because if I just did that, you can spin around and hit me with the other hand. That way. Bang. Right? So if I just put my hand up, I can still get hit with the other hand. You use Chi Sau again to point towards a target. So as in this case, I touch Tom, much harder for him to hit. Okay? So this whole idea here, bang, in. Feeling? So as his hand comes in there, coming here, bang, I mean here. Just put your hand on people, point at them. Yes. You want off, or you put your hand up. Is this relevant? Is this okay what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of us think Chi Sau's a magic thing. It's not. Chi Sau actually teaches you a lot about how well you're able to apply your Silam Tao, how well you're able to maintain your body structure.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
If you can be good at Chi Sau, even you never know some particular technique, you can create intuitively, depending on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, and this is not a criticism of our curriculum, I quite think very highly of our curriculum, but in very traditional Chinese way of teaching Wing Chun Kung Fu, there's no technique. No one learns Dai Sao on Hun. All they do is form and Chi Sau. They can still fight with it. Why? Because the Chi Sau has taught them that when you see something coming in, you aim at it, but you've learnt how to point at the person in this part of the arc when you're rotating your sphere, when you're rotating your hand. So all they do is they see a hand coming in, they put their hand in the centre line, which is all these techniques are teaching you. They're essentially doing exactly what Chi Sau teaches you intuitively. But most Westerners don't have the patience to learn Chi Sau first. So what we do is we mix and match. We give you Chi Sau whilst giving you something that you feel has some sort of practical, you can see it practically, you know. But what it really is teaching you how to point at a target and meet it in the shortest possible way while still staying focused at that person's centre line and successfully attacking them or defending against them. So you are right, yes. Does that answer your question? So your thought is right, yes.
So it's just doing Chi Sau.
Yeah.
Much better.
Well, it's not much better. It helps you. It improves. You cannot do Wing Chun without doing Chi Sau. Yes. You cannot. But that doesn't mean you can fight. All right? Because you've got to learn to do Chum Kyu. You've got to learn to move. And then you've got to have people attacking you. The advantage of doing techniques, I see, is it gives you a sense of timing, a sense of range, a sense of how somebody might move on you. Whereas see, most people who do Chi Sau only do Chi Sau, you know, back and forth this way. But people don't fight this way. All right? So even though it gives you a sense of people applying force to you, it only gives you a sense of people applying force to you at this range. But it gives you no sense of people rushing into you quickly So you have to get into that position first. So in a way, your techniques help you to understand where body positioning, where people position themselves, and how vulnerable it is, and how actually difficult it is to actually move around and to put yourself in an advantageous position. So there's a lot to be said for practicing your techniques if you understand that the technique is an expression of the principle, not a robotic mechanical response or reaction to a situation. So it's not like Pavlov's dog. Every time he hears a bell, he runs up and goes, you know what I'm saying? Or every time I hit you on the knee, your knee kicks up. That you had no choice, you've got to do that. It's recognizing that what things like counter backhand or Tan Sao teach you is the concept of pointing forward and holding your center line. Not that you have to do Tan Sao. We just use that as an example of the handwork. All right? And to show you that when you get better at this, that the Tan Sao, we're showing you that it's Tan Sao because it finishes up as Tan Sao. It actually doesn't start as Tan Sao. It starts as either Wu Sao or this Man Sao? Yeah. So that when he makes contact, my Chi Sau tells me that I've got to turn. Because there's incoming force, and the only way to take it off is to turn. If that hand is moving so fast, I go, oh, I've got to do Tan Sao. There's no sense of feeling in that. That's just placing your hand and hoping that it will do the right thing. But what Chi Sau teaches me is that when that comes in, then I'm here. Because what happens if I completely miss? Then I've got to use my rear hand, and my rear hand has to be doing a Chi Sau thing of pointing forward as well and occupying that space so that I can at least protect myself. Does this help people? Because I don't want you to think that doing techniques is a waste of time. It's a waste of time only if you don't understand why you're doing them. Is that clear to people? You've got to remember, I went through the grading system as well. I didn't go off and do some May thing and sit in a forest for 6 years or however long it took her. The thing is that if you can look at the technique and say, what is the technique really teaching me? What principles are in this technique? You'll see that it's all about Silam Tao. It's all about the Chi Sau concept of just feeling the force, recognizing where the force is coming from, and aligning yourself correctly with the opponent. Yeah? Does this... I mean, I am happy for you to argue the point with me. But if you want to argue, I would prefer you argue with me after the seminar. You know? You've got to remember that it's not some joker who invented the curriculum. It's somebody who can apply Wing Chun Kung Fu in a combative sense better than almost anyone else in the world. Sifu Jim's renowned not only for his technical skill, but for his ability to use it in fighting. Really. Yeah. Very, very different. Okay? So he's not some half sloppy Joe who, got his credentials off a cornflakes box. You've got to understand this one. CV Jim's force is incredible. I'm not saying that. I don't get paid to say that. I am not saying, I'm dead serious. I wouldn't last 1/10 of 1 second against him as soon as I make contact. At all, no matter how hard I try. I'd be dead straight away. Or incapacitated. In other words, cannot do what I intend. As hopeless as you guys might feel against me at times, I feel much more helpless against him. So understand who he is. So your Chi Sau gives you the opportunity to feel it in... The reason why technique is effective for you too is because usually technique happens from an out of range situation to a moving, coming into contact situation, which is how fights happen. Alright? Whereas in Chi Sau, when you're rolling, the advantage of the exercise is you're already in contact, you can adjust, you talk, you're friends. But when you're fighting, you're not friends. Or you may have been, right? But you're not friends. So Chi Sau is very important in gauging how well you understand your technique. But it's also a tool to use to help you improve your technique. Always. Does it make sense to people? Can I please sit down for 1 second? I'm in pain.
Yes.
Is there any question you want to ask? I'm not chastising anyone or admonishing anyone. Understand that the concept of not doing technique is only valid if you is not valid unless you understand that we're not really doing technique. We're trying to teach you a principle within the technique. Yeah.
One student was here last seminar, and I asked him what's the difference between the Hong Kong style teaching and the training concept, and between this one.
Yeah.
Because we're learning here techniques and have the grading.
Yeah.
And over there they just do
Chi Sau, yeah.
Chi Sau, and there is no techniques.
Yeah.
Just few peaks or
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah.
And what he says, the difference is you can measure here where you are staying at,
Yeah.
and but the way is on the same.
Yeah,
Like,
they are.
That's what he says.
Si Gung's best student is Si Gil. All right, and what you've got to understand is that if you try to adopt a Hong Kong style way of teaching Wing Chun Kung Fu, this school would be 20 people strong and no bigger. And how many of you have been to Hong Kong? I've been quite a few times. Yeah. Not all of Si Gung's students are shining examples of his brilliance. Just because they're under his roof doesn't mean they're any good. I'm not saying that in an insulting way. It's not. There's nothing magic in the air in Si Gung's house. He doesn't. You don't walk into the room and he looks at you and he goes, "This is the blue pill. This is the red pill." But I don't want to argue this point. I want you to appreciate that the Chi Sau exercises that you do, try to put them in your technique. Try to think about why you do Chi Sau. Because all right, let's have some comments. Why do people do Chi Sau? What do they feel they get out of Chi Sau? Don't give me the rote answers. Give me what you actually feel you get out of it.
Enjoyment.
All right? Okay. But I want to know, what do you feel you're achieving when you do it? Is there a sense of, I can actually do this now where I couldn't do this before?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that? What is the this?
I feel like I more deflect something rather than...
Yeah, fine.
Personally for me, it's more testing my structure.
Okay.
When
Yep.
I've achieved in the form, I test it out.
Yep. Anything else?
More learn more about your body,
Yep.
the way you move.
So,
others.
so can you see that you can take these into those techniques that you practice? These things that you learn in Chi Sau are not isolated to just rolling.
But Chi Sau is making that circle
Yes.
hole,
Yeah.
not just that ball.
Yeah.
Just all actually connected. And in Silum Tau is actually just only this half of that ball,
Yeah.
because it's direction of that half of the circle. Now the circle is complete. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't get into the theoretical side. I know you understand it that way, and for where you're at, that's fine. Yes, it's not wrong. It's just not completely complete. But essentially, what I'm hoping you'll see is that you'll start to think more about how successfully you can apply your technique. Because, can I have someone come up to me and do their favourite technique? You've got to tell me what it is so that I don't die. Does anyone have anything they like to do besides go on the street and beat people up?
Get in pub, get drunk.
Who has a favourite? Who has something that they do really, that they quite enjoy, and that when they're at parties, they've had a few, and they want to impress the girls, okay? There's this technique they want to show their mates, you know, like, oh, you know, mate.
Pull the pants
Everyone's
down.
got one.
Okay, well, if everyone's got one, can I have a look at it? Some of the ones everyone's got. Come on, don't be shy.
Don't say that you got one.
Yeah, come
Don't
on.
be shy. Don't be shy.
This one involves ping pong balls. Though.
Yeah, okay.
No,
So what do you like? What technique do you feel reasonably confident
I
that?
don't feel confident, I just like the way it moves.
Okay, well that's fine. You feel confident doing it. All right, I'm not going to stop you. You tell me what it is. What do you like doing?
I punch.
Okay.
And then from there,
Yep.
and then it's throw.
Okay, obviously. All right. Okay. Everything except the trip at the end, please. Okay. All right. Off you go. Okay. Again. again. Now, he's confident. I guarantee you, with all due respect to yourself, that that does not work against me. Because there's no concept of how what he's learning in Chi Sau applied to how he's applied that to me. Because what you've done is you've divorced that feeling that you have when thinking of Chi Sau and gone for trying to do the technique as fast as possible because you think that, I'm not criticising, it's normal for everyone, you think that speed means success. Speed does not mean success, speed means possibly success. Right, you feel my hand. What you're doing is, but what I'm doing, you haven't got to hope it helps stop me. Why? Because I break your structure and I focus at you. As soon as I move, I use a Chi Sau concept. Straight away. Still doing the same thing, but with a completely different result. This is what I want you to understand. Am I boring you to death with this, or is this making sense?
Do you feel you're modifying the technique to adapt?
Yeah, of course.
In that sense,
What a fabulous statement, because it just proves the whole point I'm making. I said the technique defines a principle, and that principle is when incoming force you do this. But I guarantee you, all the seafood gym's money, right? So I'm pretty safe on this one. Okay, I'm pretty safe. That if I asked you to do a technique or a movement 10 times in a row, you will not be able to do the exact movement once after. You'll do none of them exactly the same. Which means that the force you're applying in every time you apply that particular movement is not identical. Which means the way you apply, you counter it cannot be the same. It's a Chi Sau moment. Like, what do they call it? Alright, so what I'm doing, when I touch him, Chi Sau determines also and is applied depending on the objective of your attack or your defense. So in applying it to technique, if I want to do something to him, I may have in my head that I'm going to latch you down. But what if I can't latch you down? I've got to rethink a whole new scenario. Do you see my point? It does not happen. What I've got to think about is breaking his structure and dealing with his force as I touch him. Otherwise, why practice Chi Sau?
Is that in the best possible way or shortest possible way?
Is there a difference?
It is. But for you,
all right. Okay, because shortest to me doesn't necessarily mean distance. Shortest for me also means time.
Yeah, but is it the timing or just?
And also, shortest means minimum amount of energy.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay?
Yeah.
So basically, are you okay? I'm not hurting you?
Yeah, that's
all right. So I might find that it's too hard to do parry and punch because this guy's doing, I just change it. Upset your structure and go bang, straight in. But I'm using Chi Sau. I'm using this hand coming up, but I'm pointing at him, which affects your structure. Boom. From, don't do it. You've got to be reasonably confident with it. Don't try it, okay? But all I'm saying is that if I feel I can break your structure, I would. If I feel there's no way I'm going to do that to you, let's say I go, I think, oh yeah, I can do that, and suddenly I go, shit. Do you think he's going to stand there and wait for me to change my mind and try something else? Doesn't happen. So what happens with Chi Sau, in your practice of Chi Sau, you become aware when you're doing your technique that, gee, you know, I'm not going to be able to complete this movement in the direction I want to go because he's resisting me. So Chi Sau teaches me, how do I, number one, make him carry so that now he's got to do a hell of a lot of work, and number two, change maybe my positioning but not the point of my intent. So what I mean by that is, here's where the money is, okay? I may want to go to the money this way, but I may not be able to go this way, but I may be able to go this way. So I'm still going to the money. Yeah.
Finding a way to
find my way through, but I'm still going to the money.
but it also depends on the point of the contact, but how you're going to get to that.
Yes, but this is the whole point. Excuse the stupid English. This is the whole point. The whole point is that however I make contact, Chi Sau teaches me to determine what's the best way to continue. Particularly because when people are fighting you, it's a dynamic situation. Am I clear or am I confusing the issue?
No, that's...
All right. So your amazing insight, your question is so profound and yet you don't understand why, you may not appreciate why it's profound. It proves why you need to understand Chi Sau in relation to your technique. Okay? Because your technique gives you an experience base to realise that not everybody who throws a straight lead at you throws it the same way every damn time. So suddenly you're finding, oh yeah, I can do this, no problem. And you're feeling like, oh yeah, I'm getting faster. And all of a sudden he just changes this a little bit. So it goes from, sorry, can you see that? It goes from there to there. It hardly looks like any change at all. But the whole problem with that is it's completely changed the way the force attacks me. Which means that the way I contact it, I have to recognise that there's a change in the direction of the force and then change the way that I deal with it straight away. Not this preemptive, you know, I'm going to drive my car at 150 miles an hour with the steering wheel pointing 4.5 degrees this way. And I don't care that there's no road in front of me and I'm going at the edge of a cliff. Because that's essentially what you're doing. If you think fixed technique, it's not reaction in the sense, I see something that looks like that and I'm going to do this. The only thing that is consistent all the way through every technique you learn is the concept of what Silam Tao and Chi Sau teaches. And that is no matter how my hand moves into contact you, I am always pointing at your center, number one. Right? I am always trying to relax my shoulder joint and my other joints, number two. So, bring your hand in any way you want, I don't really care. Okay? So, despite the fact that I didn't punch you, I incapacitated you. Yeah. Right? And yet, all of you saw him do this, but I didn't go into Chi Sau. Yeah, so your hand comes into me in some sort of fashion, I just touch it. Alright? The techniques are valid because they do not in any sense, shape or form invalidate the principles. What you've got to recognise is that they are only instantaneous snapshots of how the principle is applied. Not the whole thing kit and caboodle. So understand that. So you have the advantage of discovery, having the opportunity of someone doing this to you and thinking, shit, my Chi Sau doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? I'm too tense. It breaks my structure. I meet it wrong. I'm preempting the strike. I'm not relaxing. Whereas in Chi Sau, you can feel that, oh, someone's got my Chi Sau, but it's not the same as someone throwing a straight at you or a lead at you really fast. It's completely different. Am I harbouring a point? You okay with this? Can you see the value of sticking hands in relation to your techniques and why it's important and getting it right and then trying to feel it in a sense of application? How are we going for time? Do you want a drink? Does anyone want to rest, have a toilet, stop, go have a drink of water? Yeah, do that. I'll give you give you 2-3 minutes. I've got a groin injury which is unfortunate for the sake that it's just unfortunate. But essentially what I got asked is, you know, there's a great emphasis in Wing Chun, and I'll paraphrase your question, okay? I'll paraphrase your question. But there's a great emphasis on Wing Chun, in particular lineages, on a lot of the handwork. And, you know, what about the leg? You know, you see people talk about Chi Sau and sticking hand, but there's this concept of sticking leg. All right? Now, I guess there's this mysterious idea that there's this secret aspect of Wing Chun Kung Fu that's only taught in some Wing Chun Kung Fu schools called Chi Sau. which is sticking leg. And there's this, people standing blindfolded on tables doing all these crazy exercises, right? And there are schools that teach it. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying, yes, so what? Because what I'm going to say to you, what I'm going to ask to you to think about is, what is Chi Sau really about? We call it sticking hand for a very simple reason. Because in most fights, you make contact with your hand. Right? But I'm not fighting you with my hand. This is the whole point of Chi Sau. I am not fighting you with my hand. I am fighting you with my body mass. Now, I would be happy to say that there's a distinction between Chi Jerk and Chi Sau if you could show me that somehow my legs were not part of my body. Okay? Do you understand where I'm coming from? If in Wing Chun, I am transferring my body mass at the point of contact here, why is it such a mystery to be able to transfer the body mass through the leg? It's not. It's just harder. You okay?
Yep.
It's just harder. But it's not a mystery. The principles are exactly the same. I'll prove to you they're exactly the same. It seems really strange that I've got a joint here, and a joint here. Oh, lo and behold, I've got a joint here, I've got a joint here, and I've got a joint here. My center of mass relative to my shoulder is about this far away. My center of mass relative to my hip or my leg joint is this far away. They're almost exactly the same distance apart. So essentially, when I make contact with somebody's leg, I'm not trying to use any secret footwork and sweep your leg. I'm trying to use that contact point to transfer my weight, which is Chi Sau. Okay? And it's uncomfortable, you okay? Okay?
Yeah.
You don't do this. Knees and ankles are much more sensitive to breaking because you have far less ability to maneuver when someone's pinned your leg. Alright? But even, like, I'm in a fight, I get in contact, I don't look for a leg. You're not leg locking. Because to leg lock, I've got to see your damn leg. I'm looking at your leg, I can't see your fist. But what Chi Sau teaches you to do, and the forms teach you to do, is recognize where somebody's center is. And if you recognize where somebody's center is, you generally have a reasonable idea of where their legs have to be. I guarantee you, they're not up here. Right? I guarantee you they're not here unless the guy's falling forward onto his face. They have to be generally in front somewhere. And they have to be relatively somewhere where you can touch them or you can attack before they can kick you. Does this make sense to people?
Yes.
Okay. So the whole concept of Chi Jerk is there's no point in thinking, I want to learn Chi Jerk, or the concept of relaxing and sticking with my leg if I don't have any structural stability. Alright? But Wing Chun, Chi Sau, and Wing Chun, the Wing Chun forms, things like Chum Kyu, teach you to move so that if I'm stepping and you apply force against me, I can still, as fast as you want, I don't care. As I lift, doesn't affect me because my leg movement should not interfere with my capacity to stay pointing at him and controlling him. So my capacity to lift my leg and kick him or shift my leg when needed is all part of learning Chum Kyu. Alright? Which gives you a sensitivity in your structure and moving your structure and staying balanced in your structure. Which then allows you to feel force because to move successfully really, really well, just as to be able to transfer force through your arms, your joints have to be relaxed. Your joints have to be relaxed in your leg. If my leg is tense at any point, okay? I'm going to tense up deliberately. Now, I'm going to try and relax everywhere, but I'm going to tense up in here. You push against me. Gone. I'm buggered. No kidding. Everywhere else is relaxed. That slight tension in there, it doesn't matter how much I'm focusing at Tom. If he moves, you move, but it upsets me. But if I relax my leg joint and he moves, well, I can feel him and I can place my weight on him. If he tries to shift my leg violently, I don't care. Tries to shift my leg violently, some sort of way, I can just shift again. Just move. Transfer my weight. It's no different to him touching me and all of a sudden trying to come in really fast with his hand anyway. It's no different. It's just a little bit more difficult because, and I only mean just a little bit more difficult because we're not used to fighting with one leg up in the air. And you don't fight with one leg up in the air. No one has a leg up here and then they do this.
They don't fight with one arm
Behind
behind.
your back. Huh? So, there's this huge confusion about kicking in the system. Okay. People are concerned about this concept of long range, short range, and I know this is not part of the seminar, but I just want you to understand that Chi Sau gives you a sense of range, knowing where your target is, what you have to do as well, because you're feeling where your target is. If you could kick me to the head, that doesn't change the fact that your hip joint is here, which is still a convenient distance for me to kick you. You see what I'm talking about? So if your leg is coming at me, I don't have to stop the far point because the leg's aiming high. I just aim for this point. Still stops the leg. All right? When kicking, if you're kicking me to this side, so you say you're coming in, I have a choice. I can come in this way, all right, just kick this part, or I can kick this part. But I'm deflecting and kicking at the same time. Okay? But it's not just kicking, it's transferring body weight the same way. I won't kick you, all right? But as your leg comes in, feel how difficult it is. Even if you manage to get your leg on me here, you can't, it's very, very hard, isn't it? But, and let's say your leg does come in, and I do this. Do you see what I'm saying? Why? Because Silam Tao has taught me to focus forward. Chi Sau's taught me to point my body at you and move towards you. And as soon as I see your body shift and then attempt to kick, I attack your center. Go straight down the middle. I don't go, oh shit, you're going to kick me. I give you exactly what you want. No way. No way. You know, if I do that, I deserve you to kick me.
So in a case like that, when I really like kick you, basically you're stepping to get your body mass.
Yeah. So you know, if you're trying to kick me in here, I just boom, I just crack, I just walk straight in and hit you.
So you get this your action.
Yeah. All right. So, boom, just walk in. Or even you don't go, oh leg. Exactly. So Chi Sau gives you an awareness.
So Tony, could you go straight in if you was going to do say a thrust kick, a front on kick? Go straight in.
But you go straight in, not like this. If you're going to touch me, I just lift my knee up. Bang, I meet you. I'm not clashing, I'm pointing at your centre. The body will shift again. And I know that works. I've got a third Dan Goju high exponent who trained with, I think it was Tino Sobrano and other people. But legitimate Goju, okay, which I have a lot of respect for as a system. And he's a big, solid man. He makes Ivan, you know Ivan, Instructor Ivan? Makes Instructor Ivan look little. And he's built sort of like in the same proportions, like a brick done. Like really solid. I love Ivan, you know what I mean? I might solid. And we were talking, and I said, just kick me. And I didn't tell him how to kick me. So he came in full on, full front kick. Sorry, that hurt. Full on, full front kick. And I didn't know what he was going to throw. And I just pointed and lifted my leg up, and his whole body just bang, broke. And I caught him right on the knee. But it didn't hurt me at all because I didn't clash, I just relaxed. And just knocked his whole body back with me. He said he couldn't believe it. Mention works. It works. I'm not saying you go out in the street and practice, oh mate, can you know. But I'm just saying, understand that concept of, we talked about Chi jerk in relation to things like Chi Sau. I'm not an expert at any of these things. You know, I'm learning like all of you, right? But the reason why it worked so well was because I didn't tense up my leg. I just relaxed and rotated and pointed forward. Just as you relax, rotate, and point forward. And all my body mass hit not his leg, but his center of mass and buckled his structure. Made it impossible for him to actually successfully kick. Yes?
I can't get any question. I understand you. It's enough for you to get this point, touch some point of his body.
Yeah.
If you would have time to prepare yourself, would you get in a Wing Chun guard? Or
Yeah. But
is it necessary?
yeah.
For
Oh
you?
yes, it is.
In
It
your
is.
section?
Yes. The Wing Chun guard is extremely efficient. You know, I tend to demonstrate a lot of things side on, talking, la la la, because most people get attacked with no preparatory time at all. Yeah. But if I thought I was in deep crap, my hands would be here. Would it be like this? It'd be like this. Like this. Don't open your fingers, guys, you'll lose them. Yeah? And ladies, don't open your fingers. Has this been okay, what we talked about?
Yes.
Has it been up to what you're expecting, or were you expecting something much more esoteric?
Sorry, when you say you don't open your fingers.
No, I don't mean don't do this.
Don't
do
do
this,
it.
yeah.
You get the right.
Yeah. 5 fingers have come through. Yeah, no, don't do
That's
this.
just
Be careful with your
only
thumb,
four.
and I'm sometimes a bit lazy with my thumb. Just relax. See if your Jim tends to have his hands closed in fists, you know? So, any questions? Has there been a consistent, can you see how I'm trying to relate it to you? I haven't talked about how you do Chi Sau. That's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about you thinking about how your Chi Sau relates to your technique and then try and relate it to your technique. Has this been okay?
Okay.
Dr. Tony, I don't want to take you off Chi Sau too much, but you mentioned before when you lift your leg you didn't clash. How do you do that?
By being soft. I think a lot of it has to do, and I don't want to get really weird here, but I think that the mind is exceptionally powerful in protecting the body. I don't believe it's infinite, I've already said that. But I think under duress, what happens is the mind fills up the body and actually protects it to a greater degree than if it wasn't there. I'm a Christian, so I'm not into really weird spiritual stuff, all right? And I'm not saying that that's not real. I'm just saying I wouldn't open you guys up to it, and I won't open myself up to it. But I'm saying that there is a capacity for, say, example, Instructor Damien. When he kicked me, when I tell you the story about Instructor Damien, and he kicks me really hard, I wasn't expecting it. I had a fearful moment. Didn't mean I panicked. I just had a crisis moment where I realised I'm going to get clobbered here, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And all of a sudden my mind went, just switched on, and I went like that, and his whole body just crashed and collapsed. Literally, he split in two and hit the ground. And I didn't do this, I touched. And I didn't feel anything at all. Just as I didn't feel this solid guy hit me really hard. I didn't have bruising afterward. It wasn't adrenaline. It was something else. It's like focus that Wing Chun produces when you think, I've got to hit, I've got to attack. That's just my experience. I can't prove that it's real. I can't show you the map.
So being a Christian doesn't help.
No, I don't believe my Christianity has any impact upon that focus. It does impact on my attitude to the person attacking me, but that's for another lecture. I do believe the mind is very, very powerful. All right? I believe you have to trust it more, but please don't fool yourself into thinking it's infinite. It is not. It's finite, but it's a lot more powerful than you currently understand. And you can use it to do amazing things. Look at the things Sifu Jim can do, like how they can even just control where they put their body mass and just relax under duress and just take the force off and have that sense of awareness. That's all done with your mind. And Chi Sau teaches you to feel that sense of awareness and control, because there's so many things you have to consider all the time. and you're in a dynamic environment that's not only violent, but it's violently dynamic. It's changing, but not at only one point. It's changing in many, many different ways. You know, so you've got your life at risk. You've got someone trying to change and attack you in all sorts of ways. So your mind is having to do all these wonderful gymnastics in a very controlled, relaxed manner to protect you. It's great. Not the fighting bit, not getting beaten up, but the fact that you can actually learn that sort of skill. I hope I haven't bored you guys too much. I might actually have to sit down again. So, is everything cool? Been okay?
Yes, yes.
All right. I might actually call it a day unless you've got anything specific. Was there anything that you didn't understand? I'm not saying that you won't be able to, that you'll be able to apply it. But was there anything that thought like, God, where'd that come from? That come from left field. Did it make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Just a general question.
Yeah.
Does your focus have to always be in front of you? If you're...
Depends where you're attacking. Depends where you're attacking. Yeah.
Okay, so if they're behind you, you just kind of set them to...
That's a very good question. If I'm being attacked, I'll get you in a position where people can see, particularly those of us. If I'm being attacked from this side, there's no point in my focus being there. I'm not being silly, all right? I'm just painting a picture so you can see why the focus is not forward if the attack is this way. Your focus emanates from your mind, but it comes with your whole body pointing in front of you. Now the term in front just means outside. Okay? Just means outside. In most instances, outside happens to actually be in front of the plane that we normally walk in, the direction we normally walk in, this way. And ideally, that's where you want it to be at some point. But if I'm being attacked this way, then my focus has to be this way. Because if it's there, I get killed. But what I try to do is turn on you so that the focus point didn't change. It didn't change it either. I just shifted my body. So it's like a compass in reverse. Inside recognizes a point, it joins, but it stays there as I rotate around it. You see, it's not there, and then it's there as I rotate. Your mind points your body at something, and you go in. Yeah, you can feel that. This is an important idea. So if your hands are coming into me, they're coming into me, and I see you, but and you try to change direction, here. Yeah? Okay? You can feel the difference. Alright. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't know how he was going to attack me, and his hand started to slip, so I didn't try to break away. So at a contact point, I just shift his mass. Okay? Fighting is sloppy. Fighting is not neat. It's not like the old Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies that you see, where, the guy spends 100 years training with his master to learn his fantastic style, and then they all fight choreographed. And for some reason the guy does this, and then the guy kicks him in the hand and jumps back up. And even the karate films are like that. That's all just because it's pretty and it's more interesting than watching someone go bang, the guy goes down. It's true. It's true. But all I'm saying is that when his hand touches mine, you your hand here, gone. I'm feeling you, but I still point at you. I don't go here. It's really hard. I have a real hell of a time not pointing, okay? So I try and point, not pointing. Notice how you don't feel me pointing at you anymore? You can now turn into me, can't you? You have control. You have control still. Try and turn into me when I do it properly. All right? So do it completely first. Do it like you're doing here. Come on. Try and turn. Try and turn. No. I'm pointing at you. Chi Sau.
Was there one point in time in training where, I don't know, you were training a lot for several weeks or whatever, and suddenly
the penny
couple of weeks, penny dropped, and you went, relax, focus forward and sit on down?
You popped the pills.
Yeah, I did have one of those matrix moments. I think for me, I understand, I still have a lot of trouble with Wing Chun. You just don't perceive it because you don't have the necessary skill to break me yet. There are some people in here, Seafood Jim, not many others. Yeah, Seafood Jim, definitely. Not even, and when I mean break, I mean completely crush me. Make me look like I'm a grade one who's just come in and said, oh, what's this crap about? Alright? But for me, what it really came down to was believing my Sifu. And what I mean by believing my Sifu is Seafood Jim never said, you do this technique, you do this technique, you do this technique, you do this technique. He always says to me, even when I spend time with him now, he doesn't tell me any secret magic trick. He says, Tagong, or he doesn't say that to me, but he says, relax, drop your weight to your shoulder, focus. All my Wing Chun training, all of it, can be encapsulated in relax, focus, and no kidding, I tell you no lie at all. Even when doing the technique on how to do the parrying and punch, it's still not just the hands here, it's relax, and while doing this move. So what it was I'm thinking, why the bloody hell does he keep telling me relax, focus, project, stand straight? Can't you see I'm trying to do a parry and punch and stop someone punching me? And eventually it conned on me that unless I stood straight, relaxed, focused, I wasn't going to be able to do this to somebody.
So there was a time.
I grasped what he was really trying to show me was the important thing of the system. You know? And Qigong's the same. Seafood Jim's a product of Qigong. Don't think anything different. He's a product of Qigong. But he's also himself, you know, he's not a robot. He's a very intelligent man. Very intelligent man. You know? And the reason why I have so much respect for him is not just because he's my Sifu, but because of his absolute breadth of his knowledge. Now, he's very kind to me, but it's his knowledge as well. He is just very good at what he does. You know? And that's not me saying it, that's Qigong saying it. But understand this one. You know? So you're very fortunate to have Sifu here. You know? We lost a lot of instructors initially when he came here. They were very unhappy because they realised what they were losing. But that's just Westerners' short-sightedness, you know? It's not as if he was going to Turkey, you know? You get on a plane, you want to come and visit. You get on a plane. Spending some time with him today showed me two things. Secret footwork. Only kidding, all right? He showed me two things. He showed me two things. Two things that are going to keep me busy for the next 6 months. And all they were just relax, drop your weight to your elbow. So he said it in 4 words. Drop your weight to your elbow. Drop your weight to your elbow. And so now I'm going to be busy for the next 6 months thinking about how to successfully drop my weight to my elbow. Not that I can't do it to you people. I can't do it to Seafood Jim. If I can't do it to Seafood Jim, means I can't do it yet. So I've got to practice.
So can you focus on Seafood Jim, or he just turns it all around?
No, he just makes me carry him. That's it, full stop. My ability to focus at you is because you can't lock me up. As soon as I touch Seafood Jim, oh God, shit. Straight away. No, you don't believe it, it's true, straight away. And he doesn't do it nastily, just nothing like, oh my God, I can't do nothing. You know? And you just have no idea. He's just a modest man, he just doesn't like showing off. Sorry to bore you guys, okay? I'm not boring you with Seafood Jim.
No, not at all.
Yeah? Very important you understand. Practice hard, because when you get to the stage where you're like grade 4, first level particularly, and further, you have the opportunity to just pick his brains. You know? You don't have to be in a special circle. No, not at all. You know? You just have the opportunity, you know? And it's not like, you know, give me money. I'll tell you the secret, if you give me money. He actually wants you to understand the system. But you've got to show a certain amount of desire to really want to learn as well, which is traditionally and typically Chinese, and that's fine. No problem with that at all. But I hope I've been of some benefit. I hope I haven't confused you. Because my whole purpose is to let you know that my ideas are not different, they're not unique. They're essentially what Sifu Jim and Sifu have expressed to me, and they're my expression of the idea, but they don't in any way conflict with the principles and the ideas. And Sifu Jim's heard me talk, and he's never said that's wrong, no, don't talk that, don't teach that. So, you know, and if I had a wrong idea, I would talk to him about it first. I would say, I think it's this, what do you think? So, you know, you guys have been great. And this is my last day here. What I probably hope is that you've taken maybe one or two things that might have made some sense over the whole 4 days I've been here. Something that you can actually work with, you know? Because I'm not interested in you going, oh, wasn't that fantastic? Wasn't he? No. I'm interested in you thinking, I got something from that. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. Because I'm not going to boo-hoo you if you don't, but I want you to get better. That's the whole reason for doing these things. Okay. So take care, and until next time I see you, which maybe 3 months time, maybe 6 months time. I don't know. It all depends on what my wife allows me to do. My kung fu is useless against my wife. Right? But you're great. And you've all been very, very charitable.